Alright, who's ready for the Draenei?
Empowered by the holy light and the undying strength of their convictions, the Draenei led the charge against the demonic Burning Legion in Outland. Now, with the Legion's defeat, they have completed the desperate mission that first brought them to Azeroth. Though some Draenei were sent back to Outland to revitalize their former civilization, the majority have vowed to remain and uphold their sacred commitment to the Alliance. Driven by a powerful vision, the immortal prophet Velen believes that a great war between the darkness and the light is fast approaching, and that Azeroth will be its principal battleground. As one of Velen's chosen, you must stand bravely before the Shadow and ensure that your people are ready for the war to come.
Okay, so obviously, like with the Blood Elf Zone, as I mentioned before, they updated the narrator's intro there to kind of basically have it be more up to date with what happened after Burning Crusade. The reality of what you probably would have heard him say is that the idea of the timeline wise of when this happens, remember, this is happening in Burning Crusade. And I explained, like, timeline-wise, where the quests and such and the zones were basically untouched when it came to what was happening during that time for Burning Crusade. Same thing here applies to the Draenei. So, timeline-wise, when you start off here, it's actually... Well, this has to do with something that apparently a lot of people had a very polarizing reaction to. So, let's take a moment to talk about the Draenei. So, when I first played this game, I remember looking at the Draenei and going, "Oh, those look weird. What are those? What's the story with those things?" You know, it was just, I had never really seen something like the Draenei before. It was odd for me. And I didn't really get them or understand it or really like them. And it wasn't until Legion and their focus that I grew to actually really like the Draenei. To now, I actually like, they're actually one of my favorite Alliance races. So just wanting to let you know, I like the Draenei. And I say that because apparently a lot of people do not like or even hate the Draenei. So, and I think some of it has to do with an aspect that the Draenei kind of brought into the fold here in this game, and maybe even in this setting, though let's be honest with ourselves, it was always in the setting, they just hadn't really shown it yet until Burning Crusade. And that is the aspect of something that I think some people caught some people off guard, and some people, I don't know, the reaction that some people had when the Draenei were added. This is, well, maybe not this, but, oh yeah, no, okay, this is, I'm trying to explain this as best I can. I'm trying to find the right words here. The Draenei are not from Azeroth. They came here on a, let's just be, blunt about this, a spaceship from another planet. And that alone made a lot of people have a reaction of, what the heck are spaceships doing in Warcraft? And I guess it has to do with this idea that some people just hate the idea of mixing science fiction with fantasy, and vice versa. Now, I guess you can call me a weirdo or something, but I've never had a problem with that. I am fully open to the idea of mixing and matching fantasy and science fiction if you use it in a really cool and awesome way. It's never something that's ever bothered me. I can't bring myself to feel like I would want them to be exclusive from each other, as if somehow that would ruin it. And I just found it kind of funny that people were outraged at the idea that how dare you bring, technology and science fiction and spaceships and space travel and all this stuff into my fantasy setting video game. Just they were offended by the idea that Blizzard would introduce science, like spaceships into what they thought was a fantasy only setting, which I find kind of funny considering the amount of technology that was already in Warcraft. So, and considering that they make a point of, and this is something the Draenei also have, which is kind of, well, this setting has been around for a very long time. The thousands and thousands of years is something that's especially exemplified, not with the Draenei. Now, you might think that way with the Night Elves because of the thing with Illidan being in prison for 10,000 years, but, I mean, that's when the War of the Ancients happened. Velen is over 25,000 years old. Yeah. So, the way, I've heard some other people say this. If they're going to have a setting around long enough where if they hadn't created space travel and advanced technology like that in that span of time, I would say, what the heck are they even doing? So I have no problem with the whole space travel spaceship thing being added here with the Draenei. And I find the Draenei lore very interesting, and it's actually very integral to the story of what's going on in Warcraft, especially with Warcraft 3, because of guys like Archimonde and Kil'jaeden. So, for those of you who don't know, the Draenei, that's not what they're usually naturally called. They're actually usually called the Eredar. Well, when Sargeras came a-knockin' on Argus, which was their home planet, and basically persuaded Archimonde and Kil'jaeden to join, along with many other Eredar, Velen and the other Eredar who chose not to join the Burning Legion escaped with the help of the Naru, which is going to kind of be explained a bit during this, just a bit, because we have a racial ability here called the Gift of the Naru, which is a healing ability. So, and they ended up calling themselves the Draenei because in their tongue it's supposed to mean exiled ones. And they eventually came across the planet of Draenor. Some people thought, they have a planet after them. No, they just kind of named themselves that after they had landed there to kind of give... it's kind of like how the Blood Elves renamed themselves from the Highborn to the Blood Elves to, represent the fallen, the people who had died from the Scourge thing. They renamed themselves the Draenei to kind of emphasize what had happened to them on their home planet and their constant pursuit by the Burning Legion, because they're still chasing them. They have crash landed here. That's part of the story of the starting zone in your character here. This character that I am starting off is a survivor of this crash landing here on Azeroth. And what's happening around with these giant mana crystals and such, that's actually going to be a relevant story point here throughout this starting zone. Which, to let you know, it's probably going to be as long as it was with the Blood Elf zone, because we're not just going to be doing Azure Mist Isle here. This is the initial tutorial one, and then we're going to make our way to Azure Mist Isle over here. But we're also going to be going up to Blood Mist Isle up here, which, like with the Blood Elves, to me, both of these zones are just a one after the other integral part of the entire Draenei starting zone storyline. So, yeah, and you can see it's way up here nearby Teldrassil. So, this whole area here, yeah. So, and we'll be getting to the Exodar later. So, but I just kind of want to address that, that there is this polarizing thing about the Draenei that some people absolutely hate, not necessarily just because of the Draenei themselves, but what I think they basically see the Draenei as representing the addition of this aspect to the setting that they didn't want added. And so because of that, some people still hate the Draenei. But anyways, I liked the focus that they got later on, because they got quite a bit of focus in this expansion, obviously, especially when you go to Outland for the Burning Crusade content. But then they kind of disappeared after the events of the Sunwell raid, until we got to both Warlords and Legion, which makes sense, because it's hard to talk about the story with the Burning Legion without also discussing the story and the lore of the Draenei and Velen. So, alright, so before we get underway here, let me kind of Get this character situated here. With a couple of things that we're going to need. And I decided, I went back and forth between a few different classes that you could play with this character. So to me, if you're going to play a Draenei, there's a few, and if you're doing it for like lore reasons, like what classes are good with a Draenei, well, you can probably go with either a priest, a paladin, or a shaman. Like I said with the Blood Elves. The Blood Elves brought paladins to the Horde, and the Draenei brought shamans to the Alliance. Now, I don't recall ever hearing about, because I'm obviously going to be Shadow. I don't recall hearing people complain that, oh man, the Horde have it so good, I wish we had shamans on the Alliance. I don't recall people actually complaining about that. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. Let me go ahead and kind of get her a little situated here. I find it funny that the cloth one basically has only one per armor type. I find that kind of funny. It's like, nah, you only need one. Because it's just cloth. That's all you're really going to need. Alright, I'll go with that one. So since she's a priest. Oh, and yeah, you're going to hear me, try and implement my best version of the Draenei voice, which, some people say it sounds Russian, some people say it sounds Romanian, Eastern European, and plus, there's also something else about the Draenei that, a lot of people tend to make fun of, and I need to take the robe off to show. See down here? Hooves! So, this has led some people to nickname them Space Goats. The Space Goats, You know how it is with people, and they're just like, oh, let's make fun of it. So, anyways. Alright, let me also grab our chauffeur. There we go. Alright, I think we are now ready to get ourselves underway. Oh, hold on. Gotta change my title. Ambassador. An ambassador. And this is going to be important because, well, we're going to see how... Remember, lore-wise, the Draenei have just recently kind of crash-landed here on Azeroth, still trying to escape the Burning Legion. Now, the Draenei don't know what's been going on here in Azeroth. They don't know the history. They don't know that the Burning Legion has been here before, that they have been repelled twice before. But that's also going to come into play when it comes to the Draenei learning about what's going on here in Azeroth with some of the other races. And we're also going to get to see how the Draenei basically came to join the Alliance. Just like how we saw the Blood Elves, how they joined the Horde, we're going to be seeing how the Draenei kind of come into contact with the Alliance and how their good-natured actions basically lead to members of the Alliance going to the hierarchy and go, these people call themselves the Draenei. They're actually really nice, great people. Why don't we consider asking them to join our Alliance? So, we'll see that.
Open your heart to the light.
And you can see the first quest is you survived because, well, never mind my injury, sister. It's a miracle that any of us are alive. It doesn't look like you'd pull through. You've been in suspension for weeks. Something happened and the Exodar crashed. Many have died. But I am relieved that you are alive, Miala. With you leading our efforts, I am sure that we'll get to safety soon. Proenitus asked me to send you to him when you awoke. He's waiting for you at the bottom of the hill. Just follow the path southwest.
Safe journey.
Part of the reason I wanted to play, I ended up deciding. So, as I was saying, Priest, Paladin, or Shaman were the few ones I was deciding. And I have been playing a Draenei Shaman. She's, kind of chilling at, in the 20s at the moment. As I am working on leveling her. As I mentioned, the Draenei have a very strong connection to the light, and especially the Naru. So, in lore, it makes a lot of sense that they would actually... be either a paladin or a priest based on their very strong connection to the light. So it does make a lot of sense to be able to play as either a priest or a paladin. but others will, get in tune with other things, such as the character that we meet later on, Nabundo, and this is one of the reasons why the Draenei are shaman in lore. You'll see characters like that, where Nabundo is one of the best shaman in the setting. But anyways. Yeah. Yeah, those big mana crystals there. So remember the what were they called in the Blood Elf Starter Zone? Not the Withered. That's what the Nightborn are in Suramar. But the Wretched. Yeah, that's Wretched. You remember how they were like, gave into their addiction to mana? Imagine what it would be like for them to see these giant mana crystals and be like, oh, yes, oh my gosh. And they, they could probably almost like overdose themselves on it. So yeah, this is even labeled a crash site. That's what this basically is. This is a crash site for us having crash landed here on Azeroth.
Blessings upon you.
Oh, Miala, by my eternal soul, it is good to see you. I don't know why the Exodar crashed. Only those of us that were in this part of the ship remain. There's not much time if we are to save everyone that we can.
Blessings upon you.
Our immediate concern is the depleted state of our healing crystals. We must replenish them quickly. Unfortunately, the only way to do this at this point is to extract the blood from the local veil moths. The blood will make for a stable substitute. The moths can be found in many places around the Vale, but they are mostly concentrated in the northwest.
Dionis Aka.
So yeah, plenty of moths over here. And of course, you get to start off with Smite. But I cannot wait to get Shadow Word Pain. Oh, a monk. A Draenei monk. It makes a lot of sense that a Draenei would be a monk. I'm just gonna try and tag them. And then kind of bring them over here so my my other Draenei monk teammate can be able to actually get credit for it. I'm just kind of like bringing them over here and be like, hey, go ahead and punch him. Get some credit for it.
I need to get closer.
I'll go over the racial stuff in just a bit. I'm like, hey, over here, do you need to tag a moth? Alright. Yeah, mutation. We'll go over that in a moment. I'm sure there's going to be a quest here going over that. But the Draenei. So the Draenei, they have this racial ability. It's really good, especially if you're going to be playing a healing spec called Gift of Dinaru. It heals a target for 20% of the caster's total health over 5 seconds on 3-minute cooldown. So if you're playing as either any of those healing specs, Priest, Holy Paladin, Resto Shaman, they cannot be Druids, but they can be monks or Mistweaver. You now have an extra healing ability because you're playing a Draenei. They have Shadow Resistance, reduces shadow damage taken by 1%, which makes sense considering their connection to the light. Heroic Presence increases your strength, agility, and intellect by 1, and it scales with level. So this is able to let you be able to kind of get a stat boost regardless of what stat you emphasize based on your class. Gem Cutting. Jewel crafting skill is increased by 10. So if you want to pursue that profession, there you go. And that's basically it.
The Legion's end draws near.
Have you harvested the necessary moth blood for the healing crystals yet? With survivors scattered all over the Vale, time is of the essence. Regrettable that those creatures had to die so that we might live. Indiscriminate killing is not the Draenei way. However, the blood that you gathered will replenish our healing crystals, so their deaths will not be in vain. Now that you have gathered all that we need to replenish our healing crystals, I need you to deliver the vials to Zaldun, our priest. You'll find him tending to our wounded inside the central chamber of the ship.
Do not lose faith.
Go ahead and throw those on. Let us step inside, see if I can find a vendor to deal with my inventory.
Welcome. Browse at your leisure.
Let us see. Do I need any other pieces? Can I even afford any pieces? I have 47 copper. I could fill out the rest of my inventory, but we'll get those as we quest, so not a big deal. We'll pick up that quest over there in just a bit. This is a priest trainer.
The Naru have not forgotten us.
Ah, good work. This will do nicely to replenish our depleted healing crystals. But now that you're here, I think I have another use for you, if you are willing. The healing crystals are replenished, but that is not the only way that we can help the injured. All Draenei can tap the gift of the Naru to heal. You must use this ability to heal one of the crash survivors. You'll find most of the survivors in the areas to the west and northwest, but the crash scattered us all over the Vale. The survivors have suffered from exposure to the irradiated power crystals, so you should be able to find them by the red glow that surround them. You must save them, Yala.
Be well.
I even messed up my own character's name. Alright, let's go back out here and pick up a couple more quests. It's like, dude, if you had another quest, why didn't you give it to me before?
May the light embrace you.
Miala, botanist Datrix is in need of your assistance. You'll find her with her apprentices to the west, outside of the ship.
Remember the lessons of the past.
May the light embrace you.
Oh, thank goodness you have come. We have much to do. The irradiated power cores from the Exodar have been wreaking havoc on the environment here. The most obvious effect has been the appearance of these strange creatures that seem to have sprung up near them. There may be something that we can do to help them, but now their sheer number are becoming too much for us to handle. I'd like you to go out and cull their numbers somewhat, and perhaps I'll have another idea after giving it some thought.
Do not lose faith.
So yeah, these mana crystals, which are kind of like pieces from the ship that broke apart, is causing the environment to well, result in things like this. But you know what I like about this? The Draenei are focused on one thing right now. We've caused damage to this place. We need to do what we can to fix it. I like that. They feel responsible for what's happened here, and they want to fix it. I really like that. I need to help the survivor. So let's go ahead and use my racial ability. Right.
I need a target.
Yeah, playing a priest early on is great when you can just focus on, like, you know, your dots, Shadow Word Pain, Smite, other abilities. It's pretty great. They don't really do that much late in the later game, but early on, it's really fun actually.
I need to target something first.
I'll let him tag this. I could tell he was trying to get credit for it. Alright. Let's go turn both of these in.
Good fortune.
You're finished? Oh, that's good news. Hopefully we can find a way to avoid the killing of these mutated beasts in the future. I believe that I have formed a plan that might give us an alternative solution to this problem, but I will need your help.
Hey, Shadow Word Pain.
The nearby lake has been contaminated by one of the ship's power crystals. Many of the plants and animals of Amen Vale have been mutated because of this. I have a theory on how to heal the lake, but I must have samples from the mutated lashers for analysis. They can be found to the west in the Aman fields. Will you help me, priest?
Blessings upon your family.
The Naru have not forgotten us.
The Aman fields to the west are the primary breeding ground of the local lasher population. With the corruption of the water table from the nearby lake, botanist Tatrix is worried that the lashers will not be able to repopulate themselves once we have cleansed the lake. Go to the Aman fields and pick some of the corrupted flowers for me so that I might take a look at them and see what can be done. You should be able to identify them by their uncharacteristic red petals.
Be kind to those less fortunate.
Keep in mind, there's still quite a few things that the Draenei have not learned about this place. But that's not their primary concern right now. What they care first and foremost right now is trying to take care of the environment that they feel responsible for, that they have damaged. And that's something that I think is very telling about the Draenei.
Arcanon Poros.
Oh, the light be praised. You have done what only a true heroine could have done, Miala. The Draenei you saved owes their continued life to your selflessness. Please, take the supply pouch. You look like you can use it more than I. And we got a bag.
Of the past.
Very nice. It's only 4 slots, but it's a bag.
Blessings upon you.
We managed to recover a damaged holographic emitter from the crash. If we repair it, we'll have a chance to find other survivors outside of Aman Vale. There were devices from the ship that could be salvaged for spare parts in the area, but the local Alkin carried them off before we could get to them. Miala, you must go south to Nestlewood Thicket and Hills to find the spare parts.
Remain vigilant.
The Naru have not forgotten us.
Mojo Storm Stout, monk trainer. Yes. Don't worry, I cannot wait to get to the Pandaren starting zone. I'm gonna be gushing about that. And I'm gonna be saving that for last. That's gonna be the last one we do in this series. Well, yeah, but I'm still looking forward to it.
Zana needs our help to salvage parts from the Exodar. Tatrix prepared an Inachum that can be given to the Nestlewood Alkin that live in the area of a lot of the salvage. Just get close to the unaffected ones and use the crystal on them. Unfortunately, you will have to kill the others. You will find the Alkin at Nestlewood Thicket and Nestlewood Hills to the southeast.
Remain vigilant.
Alright. Let's go deal with the lake first. Before we deal with the Alkin. All these mutations as a result of all these broken off mana crystals from the Exodar. Yeah, these were pieces of the Exodar. Keep in mind how large the Exodar is, which we'll be seeing later. And yeah, this is stuff that was broken off from the Exodar when they crash landed here. So here are the petals. Yep, I gotta take down these lashers. This is what I love, see? This is what I love about playing a priest. Just dot, 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 dot. It's so great to be able to, when you have to do quests like these, to just be like dot, dot. And eventually they die. It's so great. Especially when there are other players around, because then you can just be like, alright, tag, tag, tag. And you don't even have to, like, continue fighting them, really. Like, yeah, they'll kind of aggro to you, but it's like, it also helps with other players if they get the tag as well, because you help them kill them quicker. Now, of course, I wouldn't want to just simply take all of them for myself, because then I'd be kind of one of those jerk players that does that. I do it partly to help out the other players, while also getting credit for myself, but also, you know, I like to try and let them get credit as well.
I'm out of range.
See, he's... Yeah, dot. Dot. There we go. Game. Alright. Alright, so I've got the stuff for the lake. Now let's head over to deal with these owlkin. And try to get these spare parts as well. There they are.
Far away.
The big chickens that we get to look like when we play Balance Druid. Yeah, I'll be honest, I've never liked the owlkin look. That's one of the big reasons why when I could, I got a glyph to change the appearance. But it's also one of the big reasons why I really like it. That they've allowed you to be able to have different versions of this based on what race you're playing. Like Zandalari Troll Druid or Kultiran Druid, you know? It's like your owlkin looks different than this, which I've never liked it, ever. I'm not saying it's bad if you do like it, you know. That would be silly for me to say that, you know, it's a preference thing. But let's just say like on my max level Tauren Druid, he's got the Astral look, which I think looks much cooler. And far more appropriate for a balanced druid. Again, it's just a preference thing. I just realized I have been just killing them instead of actually...
I'm out of range. It's too far away.
I am silly.
I need to get...
I got so focused on talking about the owlkin thing that I didn't...
It's too far away. I'm out of range.
Come on.
I need to get closer.
Alright, hold on. So I need to find the unaffected ones. Ah, okay. So I need to use it on these ones here. Gotcha. Okay. I like how he looks at me like, hey! Wait, did that not work? There we go.
It's not ready yet.
Come on. What do you mean not in line of sight? He was right in front of you. So I'm stupid. Wasted time there a bit. It's a good thing they just aren't hostile. They're just yellow. So that makes this far less aggravating. Because then I'd be like, oh my gosh. Okay. Is there another one, like, right over here? I probably killed it and need to wait for it to respawn. There's more over in that direction. But I just need one more. But anyways. Let's go ahead and make our way over. If we... Ah, okay. So let's follow this pathway. Huh. How did I... Oh. There we go.
If you don't mind, I'll take this spare part. Really glad these things are not hostile. There's one. There's one over there. You see just pieces of debris from the ship just kind of all over the place. Time to head on back and turn in all these quests. You know what I find funny about this set for clothwares? The headpiece. It's a little hard to see right now, but this makes my eyes just glow red like, I'm evil. You know, it's just kind of a funny little effect. I'm curious. How do some of these early sets look? Yes, I have the entire Molten Core set. Don't ask me how I was somehow able to get all those to drop. Oh, does not look bad on a Draenei. That also does not look bad. I still need to get some of these pieces to drop. That's another reason why I still have to take my priest through Molten Core, is to get Ragnaros to drop it. That's the only reason. Of course, I also need to take my priest through Blackrock Depths to try and get both Iron Foe and the Crown of Flame. Come on. Come on. Ah, there we go. Let us make our way back over here first. Let's talk to the botanist.
May the light embrace you.
Oh, these look like fine specimens. Thank you for performing the field work. Once I can find the time to analyze these, I should be able to tell what it will take to restore the fields.
Dionysaka.
Each day is a blessing.
I'll need all of these samples in good condition if we are to have a chance of cleansing the lake. We don't have much time. These will do. Thank you, priest. While you were out, I managed to gather some equipment together to make an analysis of the samples. This should only take a moment. Oh, thank goodness. I think it'll work. I have an agent for you to spread at Silverline Lake to the south. It will neutralize the effects of the irradiated ship's power crystal that fell there. Swim out and scatter the neutralizing agent near it. Don't worry, you will not be exposed long enough to become irradiated.
Seek the path of the light.
Well, she's concerned for my well-being when it comes to the radiation. By the way, I should have also mentioned the thing about how they've lived thousands and thousands of years. So, whereas the Blood Elves and the Night Elves kind of, rely on a magical source of energy like the Sunwell or the Well of Eternity to kind of sustain their, their long lifespans,
The Draenei are a little more natural than that. They are just naturally just long living. There's, as far as I know, there's not really an actual explanation for it. It's just kind of part of their genetic makeup, I guess. So, because otherwise, you'd probably wonder how is it that Velen is just so old. Seriously, 25,000 years. It gets really silly in Legion when you get to Argus and they're like, Velen. And he's like, oh my goodness, it's you. And I'm like, how would you two recognize each other or remember who each other is? It's been 25,000 years since you've seen each other. You should not recognize each other or even remember who that other person is. But anyways.
Open your heart to the light.
When we have those spare parts, I know that we'll get this emitter repaired. With any luck, there will be someone else out there left to talk to. Let me take a look at those. Yes, I think these will do nicely. Good job, Miala. The emitter is rather complex, so it may take some time to finish the repairs. I'll let you know when it's ready. In the meantime, you might see if Vindicator Aldar has anything that he could use you for.
May your days be long and your
As a matter of
hardships.
fact. And I just got my flash here.
Arcanon Poros.
The more that we can do to clear up Nestlewood, the faster Zana can get back to work. With many of the Alkin now inoculated, we can focus on getting out of here and not have to worry about wiping out the Alkin population in the area. Here, choose from these. You have done good work and you deserve to be rewarded. Either more armor for an hour or more strength. Considering that I'm playing as a priest, strength doesn't really mean anything, so I'll go for the armor one. We now have several separate confirmations of unusual activity up to the Shadow Ridge. This is disturbing. We thought that the scouting missions already undertaken had been thorough. One of my scouts has not reported back yet. Priest, I need you to head southwest to the other side of Silverline Lake and find Tolan, and see what has delayed him.
May your days be long and your hardships few.
And we will be doing that when we return. Stay tuned.